On this episode of a Soul's Quest podcast, Omar and I are discussing the law of attraction and manifestation and its importance in our quest. Stay tuned. I'm doing my podcast stretching.
You're stretching a little?
Yeah, I'm still doing it. I've been doing it for a few minutes here.
Oh, I understand.
I just saw, not to compare myself to Jennifer Lopez, but I saw a little snippet of a video and she's like doing this major like stretching with a large crowd of people. So apparently she must have been going on stage. She was doing all that, you know.
Okay, yeah, you gotta
gotta get ready.
Loosened up. You gotta get loosened up. Yeah,
that's right.
Get loosened up.
Even for a podcast.
Even for a podcast.
So what are we talking about today?
I think you are talking about the law of attraction, right?
And manifestation.
Okay. Okay, I think this is an interesting topic.
It is. It's actually was pretty popular at one point with like The Secret and the show and whatever. And I think a lot of people, there's some religions that have a really strong belief in this as well. I mean, I think everybody has some sort of belief in this, right?
It's kind of interesting, right? Because I've been listening to a lot of manifestation things and mental acuteness, and there's a cognitive portion of it that is very interesting and very important, right? Because it's really about clarifying what it is that you will like to see in your life, which is almost as if you are truly planning and being very thorough about your planning, right? And really visualizing. And I think that this is something that suits introverts very well, right? Because it's the idea of imagining, of getting a clear vision and picture of what you would like to actually see manifest, right? And I had a friend of mine send me this little snippet from a book that he's reading about Rockefeller. Rockefeller used to spend a lot of time by himself. He was an introvert. So he spent a lot of time by himself visualizing and thinking about the things that he would like to see, that he wanted to see. You know, so it's pretty interesting because this is kind of like surpassing the realm of mysticism and getting more into some deep thinking portion, you know, which is the part of the process that I'm curious with. Yeah.
And just for clarity, it's great for introverts. It's an aspect for introverts that is very beneficial, but it's for everybody.
No. And I meant that because, you know, introverts tend to be more imaginative, right? Gotcha. They tend to be more like, well, not all introverts, but, you know, daydreaming and all that stuff. So it's just pretty interesting to kind of like see the correlation of your thoughts, primarily your thoughts, because manifestation is really about clarity of thought. Right? Yeah. Of thinking clearly and thinking precisely and visualizing precisely what it is that you would like to see.
Right.
So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I want to start with a quote.
Okay.
I mean, in customary fashion here. It's by Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu.
Lao Tzu.
Okay, my bad.
Sorry.
All right, thank you. Jeez. He's an ancient Chinese philosopher.
Yes. You know which book he wrote?
No.
The Tao Te Ching.
Okay.
Yeah. I have it here.
Okay.
Okay, sorry. Go on. Sorry, I just got a little excited.
I think his quote is really good, though.
Yes, I think so, too. Go ahead.
It's watch your thoughts, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your character. And watch your character, it becomes your destiny. I thought that was really telling.
But this is what I'm saying. It's about clarity of thought. You know, clarity of purpose.
In a lot of in a variety of ways, not just in this way that we're talking about today, but in our behaviors and the things that we do.
In the way that we interact, and a lot of it truly it's because again it goes back to a lot of things that to me I don't know if it's my age and I don't know if it is the fact that I have lived a little bit and I've experienced certain things, but it almost seems like a lot of this stuff correlates. And there is a certain connection between even scientific thought and then this way of thinking as well. So it's just a matter of thinking But yep, that's a. Okay, so what is the law of attraction?
And why is it important in our quest, right? So simply put, the law of attraction it's one of the 12 universal laws. So it's one of, and no, I don't know what the universal laws are. I know some, I think, but, and it's the belief that positive or negative thoughts can attract corresponding experiences or outcomes. So this belief is based on the idea that like attracts like. So positive thoughts and feelings can attract positive experiences, and negative thoughts and feelings can attract negative experiences. So it's associated with manifestation, which kind of is like they're very closely, they're similar. But if it involves focusing, which is what you just talked about, on your thoughts and manifesting that. So if you're focusing on something negative, that energy is being put out there, and that is what you're attracting into your life.
Yeah.
So,
but it's almost as if like, and this is one of the things that you're seeing in our current environment, right? It's like that idea of the sympathetic nervous system being constantly activated, right? And that's the fight or flight system within you, right? So if you are constantly in an anxious state, in a negative state, thinking about, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh my God, what's happening? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. That you don't get to pause and then see a broader perspective of things. Then that's more than likely what you are going to get.
You're going to keep getting more of.
Exactly. You're going to get more of that. In contrast, if you stop, take that overview effect type of view, right? From the outside looking down, then you're more likely to be able to kind of look for other solutions, looking for other problems, looking what opportunities were there when they weren't, So personally speaking, like I've struggled a lot, I've struggled a lot with this concept, and because I tend to be negative, beat myself up a lot. You don't have to make that look. You don't have to make those eyes. What is it the kids are calling it now? With the eyes looking that way or something? I don't know.
I have no idea.
But anyways.
I just heard the old fashioned, if you do that, your eyes are going to get stuck or something.
No. But, but you start thinking really about, personally, being negative and thinking about, oh my God, how is this going to work out? Oh my God, how are you going to, and then, so then you're not in a solution state to look for connections and possibilities. You're not in the way, okay, I don't know how to do this right now. Let me look for something else. You're not in that best problem solving state, which is think is part of like anybody's needed. So you could see that it's not just about this mystical idea of just making something out of thin air, but it's been able to be in the connections and allowing certain things to kind of like work in your favor, because it's like how many times has this happened to you, right? We're talking about a car, and everywhere you go now you see that car where before you never did.
Yeah. It's such a natural, it's such a simple thing too, but look at how that actually works.
How it works, like your consciousness, now you have algorithms that hear you say something, so now it's like it's everywhere, right?
Yeah.
But still, it's like, it's kind of like that idea of your thoughts, your and the clarity of being able not to be in that, to be able to stop it, right?
I mean, a lot of people have talked about how powerful our thoughts and our words are. Bruce Lee has several quotes. I don't know any of them, but I've heard them, and I'm just like, yeah, he's right. You know what I mean? Like it's your thoughts and your energy. That's an energy that people don't realize is so powerful. That's why he
says the one of the things that he says is that do not put yourself down, not even jokingly.
Yeah, that's one. Yeah.
Not even joking around.
I just read that the other day.
Yeah. And but it's true. It's like, and again, I do that, and I have to catch myself segueing into being more positive, because I do that, and I notice that has been a big challenge in my life to be able to overcome that, and I still work on it.
Right.
It's like, oh my God, I'm not where I need to be. Oh my God, this and that and the other. Oh my God, we don't get the views. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Instead of saying, okay, so I know kind of like how that mental aspect of thinking has made my situation much harder than it needed to be.
Yeah. And it also sort of takes away from the experience of living.
Yes.
And being present in whatever situation is going on in your life. You know what I mean? And I think that's really important, because we've talked about that in past episodes about not being present and not enjoying life and sort of just being in such a zone that we miss, again, what you just said, to emphasize, we miss opportunities that if we take the overview effect, we would actually, that would open up to us. You know what I mean?
So I heard the other day, or I saw on Instagram, and I have a feed from Eckhart Tolle, and he says something about, he was talking about manifestation, right? So the point of attraction when it comes to manifestation and the law of attraction is the present moment.
Yeah.
Being present, right? And we're going to talk about a couple of things, but it's like in the moment, feeling what it is in the moment, right? And understanding that moment is temporary.
Yeah.
Right? It's that's the point in which the attraction to things really begins. It's being aware of that present moment, which is what you alluded to. And it was interesting when I read that for him, because he talks about a lot the power of now and being in the present, which is what Lao Tzu talks about, what a lot of Buddhism and a lot of prayers are about, just being in the present, being in the moment. But being in the moment is the starting point to actually manifesting. Because when you're in the moment and you appreciate that moment for what it is, then you become joyous, you become much more centered, you become much more flow, you become more open. And when you're open, the possibilities are beginning to happen.
And you're more resilient. You can overcome things that do not feel good or are bad things that happen to you, but you overcome them. You know, I mean, we had an experience recently, I'm not going to go into the details, but because I can't, but we bounced back from that rather quickly. What I mean? And it was just like, wow, that was pretty impressive. Because we're talking about the law of attraction, you know what I mean? Because it was really an attraction of something that we really wanted, but it wasn't necessarily what we needed. And so it was like, okay, we can bounce back from this. And it wasn't like it was a dire situation, but we bounced back from it pretty quickly, as opposed to maybe in years past, it would have been something that would have really held us back, or been something that we had really ruminated on. You know what I mean? And I think that's the case for a lot of people, is that they become more resilient as a result of practicing manifestation and the positive thoughts. Yeah. So,
and it all starts from there. It all stems from there. Just being in the moment, being in the present.
Being in the present. Yeah, I get that. So the law of attraction has 3 basic principles. And that is that like attracts like, which is what we're talking about in terms of, if you have positive thoughts and you put those positive thoughts out, then you're going to receive positive thoughts. It may not. One thing that's really important too is that I think that a lot of people think, okay, if I'm putting out that I'm going to get this car, I'm going to get a BMW. I'm going to get the newest BMW. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be black. It's going to have this. And then you end up getting
a Pinto or
an Acura or a different vehicle. Is that not, did the law of attraction not work? Or did the universe provide you with what you needed?
But that's the thing. The thing is that, right? Question. I mean, because it's like, it's all relative, right? Like this is what we talked about, values, and we talked about this stuff, right? So one of our values, and one of the things that we're working on and manifesting, is that idea of freedom, right? So now, what does that look like? Does it look like a large amount of money in our bank account? What does it look like? Yeah. Right? And it's been clear when it comes to that. So the way that we talk about it is like, we want to have enough money for all our needs to be met, and for us to be able to enjoy things that we want to do. It looks like us doing the things that we want to do, like our podcast, like our business, ASQ empowerment, and all that stuff, but also have the flexibility to be able to spend time together, which we enjoy. Right? Now, would $1 million accomplish that? Would $500,000 accomplish that? Would $1,000 would this amount of money on a monthly basis accomplish that? Right? It's kind of like being able to be clear about that, those values that you would like to meet, right? And kind of like looking at it from those things. Enjoyment. Right. Enjoyment. What does that look like? It's kind of being clear when it comes to that. Yeah. I do want to talk on this thing about likes attract like, right? Because it reminds me of a Hermetic code, as above, so below, right? So this idea that and it's a Kabbalistic idea too. It's about thinking about what you see, what you think on top, on the top, and what you envision on the upper world is something that could be manifested, in the lower world as well. It's based on our ideas and our thoughts of clarity and things of that nature. But to your point, would a BMW bring you more joy and happiness? It could.
It could.
But it's not necessarily so.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like really thinking about the reasons and the purpose and the values that those things meet.
Right. And I think that's important. I think that's definitely something that is important to mention in this, because I think a lot of people are like, well, I put it out there that I'm going to win the lotto, and I never do. And I spend money every week, and it's, so it really is aligning your thoughts and your desire, your needs and your wants with your values.
So here's another example about that, right? About the Epicurus, right? The Epicurean mentality is like hedonism and enjoying, having excess and just enjoying hedonism, right? But it's not. If you look at Epicurus, it was a really not a super wealthy individual, and he had this line. He was like, "Send me a pot of cheese so that I could have a feast," right? It's like it's the delight in the life that he enjoyed with his friends, with enjoying a meal, that make his life richer and enjoyable, right? And hedonistic in the sense, but it wasn't this excess part. So it's really investigating your reasonings as to why you want something, right? And that what is the value, because we talked about values here before, and the importance of understanding those core values that you have. What are those things? How are those things being met?
Right.
Because that's kind of like what you want. Now, if you want power and you want all these different things, those are values that are relevant, that are fine.
Those are your values. Yeah.
There's no judgment when it comes to that. It's just, the approach on how you get it and whether or not when you get those things is it fulfilling that now moment. So like attract likes, as above, so below. Thoughts, reality.
Yeah. The second principle is that nature abhors a vacuum. And what that means, I'm going to read it because that was different for me. This principle suggests that empty space cannot truly exist and always needs to be filled by something.
Yeah.
So as such, it's important to make space for positive change in your life by clearing out the negativity.
Yeah. Wow. This is so funny because in Kabbalah, remember they talked about the vessel and the light, and then the klipot, which is you have to clear it and you have to create the vessel to be able to actually do that. And that's
like the example that I got is that it's like cleaning out your closet with unused clothing.
Exactly.
Your mind needs to be decluttered too, so that you have the room necessary to attract new things that better serve you.
And I will take it a step further and say that your soul needs to be decluttered too, because we carried a lot of baggage of our emotions, our traumas, like all these things. We carry all that stuff with us, but it actually prevents us from having that vessel being clear enough so that it could be filled.
Yeah.
And personally speaking, I feel like in the last 3 years of my life, this is exactly what's been happening, right? It's like all of this stuff has been kind of like cleared out.
Right.
And almost like if my life was somewhat destroyed, like, in the tower card, oh my God, I wasn't even thinking about it. And this is how I kind of put it together. So in the tarot card, the tower, right, that it was like everything is being destroyed. It's almost like you are subconsciously destroyed everything that was your life to clear it out, to make way for something new.
Yeah.
Wow.
Or better, something that better serves you.
Yes, something that better serves you. And some of that happened consciously, some of it happened subconsciously, but I think that in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be kind of like at the where we are right now, or where I'm at right now personally. I always kind of felt that this is kind of like the path that I really wanted to go to. And there's still some cleaning that I have to do on that vessel. Some doubts, some fears, some things like that I have to kind of like get rid of and clear out. But the definitely is much clearer.
Yeah.
Right?
It's good. When you declutter, you feel better. I mean, I cleaned my closet out couple of weeks ago, I think for the spring cleaning. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I have more space. I can see clothes in here that I'm, I need to do it again. It feels good. So it's and soul cleansing.
Yeah. And it's cool because like we're talking about cleaning, but you're talking about, you talk about it for the physical standpoint, which it is sometimes like it's necessary and it's very helpful because it does help you psychologically, right? When you get rid of clutter, you feel much better when things are clean. You feel much better, right? And then what I was saying is from that standpoint of getting rid of all that muck.
Yeah.
That's inside of you, all the perceptions of identity, all that crap.
But I would argue that whenever because when I get to clean something out, or I clean, the bathroom or the kitchen, and I sweep and I mop and things smell good, I will say that whatever negative emotions that I'm feeling, or if I'm feeling heaviness or whatever, I will tell you that when I do those things physically, it sort of manifests in the spiritual world for me, at least. You know what I mean? Like I feel so much better when I don't got any laundry. My bathroom is clean. Everything is just like, I don't know. I feel better.
There's a lightness that comes from it. Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is like, your example that you gave was like a physical example of doing those things physically. It's like working out. You feel much better.
You can do it either way.
You could do it. I mean, either way or both. To me it's like both, because sometimes I have to clean too. Like I have to just get rid of the clutter, clear the desk, and all that stuff. But it's like, to me, it's been happening in a psychological, spiritual type of level. Getting rid of a lot of things like that, and doing it in a way that I'm very conscious of it. Not just doing it by happenstance like I did in my 20s, so to speak. Now it's like more purposeful. It's I'm understanding what I'm doing. I'm understanding the
there's more purpose.
Rather than happenstance. Right. So that's kind of like I like that part number 2.
And then the final principle tells us that there will always be things to be unhappy about if you look for them. But rather than dwelling on things that are going wrong, finding ways to make things better is fundamental to shifting your reality into one that attracts what you desire. So the present is always perfect. Yeah. And that's what we just talked about earlier, is that being in the now, and appreciating what we have now,
And it's always challenging. I mean, I wouldn't say that, that practice of being in the now, this is why mindfulness has become such an important part of a lexicon in our society, to be mindful of the moment, to be mindful of the present, to be mindful, and that's idea of taking deep breaths and stopping for the moment, because these things are pivotal in the way that for our well-being and for our growth as people, and for just living life. That's why prayer is important. And it's ironic, right? Like when you're thinking about prayer, most people think that it's like I'm asking for something, and it's connecting to the present moment. That's important,
right?
And you could call it God or whatever. It's anybody's prerogative to believe in whatever they want to believe. But most religions and most spiritualities have that moment, that the importance of stopping,
right?
You pray 5 times a day if you're a Muslim. You pray if you're a Jewish. You meditate if you're a Buddhist or a Hindu. These are practices that are important for our connection and for the clarity of living the life that we so desire.
Yep, I agree. So one important thing to note on the upside of the law of attraction is that thinking positively alone isn't enough.
I mean, on the upside or the downside?
The upside.
Okay.
I mean, we just talked about the positives and what the law of attraction is about.
Okay.
And now I'm ending that with saying it's important to note that thinking positive alone isn't you need to put in some work and effort too.
Of course.
Obviously. Things aren't just going to come just because. You got to put in the work and the effort.
Yeah.
And so that's important. I think sometimes people think, well, I did this and it didn't come. And you're like, you didn't get a job because you didn't look. You got to look for a job.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
You can't just wish, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to put in some
effort. I need
effort.
a job that pays me this much money and this is what I want to do. Well, you got to look for that job, or whatever. I'm just using that as an example.
No, I hear you. And then also is that part of allowing things to unfold, right? Which is hard for us to do because we are impatient creatures, right?
Yeah.
And we want the stuff like right away,
now.
right? And you
Instant
have
gratification.
And this is why it's important to live in the moment, because you have to allow things to happen, right? I mean, like we're doing this episode and it's like we're talking to ourselves, right? Because sometimes we want things like yesterday.
Of course.
And me being impatient as I am, you know, it's like, oh, okay, but come on, let's get to it. It's like, but it's like flowing. Like you have to let these things kind of like develop and see how they come.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with everything, there is a downside to the law of attraction. So that's where I was going. See, upside down, downside. Yeah. Okay. You got to keep up.
I'm sorry.
Okay. So according to, I did some research, of course. So according to Dr. Jamie Zuckerman, who is a clinical psychologist, toxic positivity is the assumption either by oneself or others that despite a person's emotional pain or difficult situation, they should only have a positive mindset or positive vibes. So that is to say that the way that when I did the research, because I thought that was really interesting. I never had heard of toxic positivity before, but basically, and you can put the link to I found a couple of articles and stuff, but for the sake of ease, I found an article, just a regular article that is brief and it's a lot easier to understand rather than going into studies and case studies and stuff. And you can link that in there because this article actually touched on a lot of the things that are ways to sort of deal with toxic positivity, right? And so what toxic positivity is, just to bring it down a level, is that, so for example, we're having a conversation, and in the conversation I say, oh yeah, my car broke down, I had a flat tire and this happened, and then it cost me, $300 because it ended up being this or that and here and no. So boom, 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 right? You say all these things, and then you, as the receiver of this information, I'm venting, you're my receiver, you come out with, well, at least you got a job so you can pay for it, right? That just grinds my gears. Yeah. That is toxic positivity, because you're not empathizing with that person. You're finding or pointing out that solution and basically letting them know that you have no right to feel what it is that you're feeling. And that is toxic positivity. Yeah.
It's actually guilt. It's actually, if you really think about it, it's like making somebody else feel guilt for the struggles
they're going through. Yeah, that's a good point. And so there's a couple of things that you can do, but basically what it is that you have to, like, people always say that, look on the bright side, you have to be thankful for what you have. And it's like, okay, but right now I'm not feeling that. I just want to feel what I'm feeling. And one thing that you have to do is be able to feel and go through whatever feelings that you're feeling. And then eventually you'll come out on the other side.
Yeah. There's two things that I want to say on this, because I find it completely fascinating, right? Number one is the toxic positivity, right? There's a book, and I read it in high school, Candide by Voltaire, right? And if you ever get a chance to read that book, it's a very interesting book because it's very satirical about the idea of everything's hunky-dory in the world, look at the bright side and everything's positive and all that stuff, as the world is crumbling around this dude, and as everything that could go wrong, and the positivity, so it's like
rah, sunshine all the time.
Candide was a good illustration of a satirical illustration of that premise of the positivity, and having that on a constant basis, because the world is not always like that, right? The second point that I wanted to make on that, and I was listening to this today, and it's the Abraham Hicks, Esther Hicks books, and she says something to the extent that we do need to feel the negative emotions, because our emotions are the barometers, all right, as to whether we're aligned with our core values or not. Oh, which is pretty interesting,
yeah, that is
right?
Interesting.
Because it's like, if you are feeling stressed, right, it's not denying that you don't. I shouldn't be feeling stressed, or I need to get over this. It's a beautiful day. It's like you need to understand why you're feeling stressed, because there might be something to it,
right?
If you're feeling anxious about something, you need to understand, why are you feeling anxious? Am I feeling anxious because I don't know exactly what's happening? I don't know exactly what the outcome might be. And if I don't understand those things, can I find more information about it? So
that's interesting you say that, because that, ties into what I said earlier about building resilience, because if you just sweep everything under the rug and say, oh, it's a beautiful day, I'm glad at least I have my health, then what you're doing is you're not acknowledging that you have these real feelings, and that's okay. And so, acknowledging, I'm stressed. Let me identify what's stressing me out. Exactly. Which is what you're saying. That then you deal with it, which builds resilience.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Right. So you see, like these things. It's like the emotions are your barometers, and we talked about the 6 core emotions: anger, disgust, happy, and all that, whatever. But these are things that they're barometers. They tell us exactly where we are under a certain situation, and if we don't pay attention to those in those moments in the now, then we really can't see. Oh, that's nothing. It's just the way that things are. It's just positive vibes only. It's like, no, because you might be in a situation that is a really crappy situation, but I gotta get through this. Has got, and you keep going, and the years go by, and then time goes by, and then it's too late for you to realize, like, oh my God, where did my time and life went?
Yeah,
So you gotta be conscious of your emotions, because they are your barometer. But I just wanted to point out those 2 things. Candide, the book, I think it's it's just a big stat situation, like perfectly.
Really.
And number 2, understanding the concept that your emotions are your barometers, and you shouldn't just sweep them under the rugs and just say that everything's fine. I'm positive, and I'm just going to work this out.
Yeah.
Everything's going to work out by itself.
Yeah.
You need to do some investigating on that.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, one of the important things is we listed a couple of things and ways to deal with toxic positivity, but I think the one that really stands out for me, and it's really, really simple, is that you have to just remember it's okay not to be okay. Bottom line, it's okay not to be okay. And there are moments, I mean, I had a friend that I was talking to the other day, and he was telling me about how, I said, how was your weekend? And he was like, well, on Saturday, about midday, he was getting ready to go to the beach, and then something happened. I don't know, multiple things happened. He stubbed his toe, then he spilled something and the glass broke, and he was like, nope, I'm done. He literally says this, I'm done. I'm not going out. This is a sign. So he stayed home. And then as he kept going through the day, things kept happening, and he just went into a slump. And then Sunday, he said he stood in bed all day long, like literally just ordered pizza and didn't do anything all day long. And he goes, it was the best thing that ever happened to me. Nobody was there to tell me I can't do this, whatever. My roommate was out of town. It was perfect. And he goes, and I enjoyed myself, and that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. And I overcame, and I feel better as a result. Resilience, right? So.
Yep.
Yeah. So basically, and if you can share that article, then that would be good, because I think that it was a really easy, simple read, for people. So.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about law of attraction and manifestation. And of course we have strategies for people to manifest these.
And the interesting thing about it all is that, typically you think about this stuff as to, I just want to attract this into my life. Right. And typically that's what most people think. And yes, that is something that is that it's a possibility. I mean, we have situations happen that is like,
you can't say that there are things that are going to happen that are completely like serendipity. It's just like,
but it could be intentional, because you're putting it out there. It's your thoughts drive your reality, right? I mean, like you keep hearing that. And before you go into that, I thought of this analogy today, because I think it pertains to this, right? So I always hear that there's this phrase, and I don't remember where I heard it from, but it's about, you could either be, life is like a horse. You could either be in control of the horse, or the horse could be in control of you, right? For a lot of our early parts of our lives, right, the horse is in control, right? Because we are pitched into the world. We don't get to choose. We don't get to decide our parents, our siblings, our economic status, our colors, whatever it is. We don't often get to decide. I mean, we don't get to decide. So it's just, we're like just a wild horse, right? But we do get to a point in which we become the trainer, right, of that horse.
Right.
And then we could align ourselves with that horse to be able to manage it, direct it, which direction we want to go to, be able to align ourselves with it to accomplish a task, to enjoy something, to go on a journey together. You know, so when it comes to manifestation, is being able to understand that the thing about life, right, that could be wild and chaotic and out of our control, or we could be able to actually tame it, work with it, so that we could work together and it could go in the direction in which we want it to go to, which is our core values. I just thought of that analogy too.
Oh, it's a great analogy. Yeah, that's really good. Because I think that's what it is. It's what it, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. So, yeah.
Oh, it's directing the course of our lives.
And this is one of the ways or the tools to do that.
Precisely.
So, yeah.
Precisely.
So again, talked about law of attraction, manifestation, and we have 5 strategies for individuals to go ahead and put into operation or as tools. They can put it in their toolbox. Yeah. So the first one is visualization, which you touched on in the beginning of our episode here. Visualization is a powerful tool for bringing an idea or desire into reality. A vision board, which you and I have done this actually, is a great way to remind you of your goals and helps keep you motivated and inspired. And a vision board can be modified. It can be updated. You can, oh, I think I'd rather have this car, not this car. You know what I mean? And I think that's a really good thing. We did that, which was really, I think it was an effective tool.
Yeah. I manifested my truck. And it was like, I was like, oh, okay.
And we got a great deal on it.
We got a great deal on it. I was like, okay.
It's beautiful. I love driving it.
Exactly. And you know what? Something else about visualization is that it's an idea of always also repetition. It's like creating a moment in your day in which you're constantly visualizing what it is that you would like to see in your life. Yeah. Visualizing the smells, the feel, the emotions, which of your core values is it going to hit on. Like being able to do that on a segment, on a daily basis, 10, 15 minutes, that's all that you're thinking about. Morning, evening is something that depends, and people could go back and forth, but you just got to find it that time of day and see what really works for you, Yeah. So, number 2, keep a gratitude journal. Recall that like attracts like. Therefore, being intentionally grateful for the things you desire can bring about more abundance into your life. So I keep a journal. It has all kinds of stuff in there, but I am very thoughtful because you have to be present, have the presence of mind to look at the things that you're grateful for in your life. Like I told you today, I'm so grateful that that we enjoy our times together. That is kind of cool that we probably have rough days, but then we get together. It's like, oh, we're smiling and joking around. So, you got to be grateful for those kinds of things. And we have to keep reminding ourselves of that part.
I think a good practice to have with this strategy is that every day, if you can take a moment to just maybe at the end of the day or whatever, not to necessarily write it down. You don't have to, but just to think, what happened today? What am I grateful for today? You know what I mean? The third strategy is say it out loud, speaking it into existence. When you wake up in the morning and before going to bed at night, declare out loud, I would like whatever it is that you want. And I think that's effective. Sometimes putting up sticky notes and just seeing it too, I think is effective. And not necessarily saying it out loud, but just, oh yeah, I used to put sticky notes on my mirror in the morning when I would, get up and I'd be like, oh, that's a good reminder, so.
And I would add to this just a little more caution. It's like, be careful who you share it with.
Good point.
Just be careful who you share your things with.
That is such a good point.
That is something that you might want to kind of like really look into. And
can't be sharing everything with everybody.
Exactly.
That is for sure. So not everybody wants what's best for you.
And when we say it out loud, it's just
say it out loud to yourself. In the shower, while you're getting dressed, and in the car on the way to work. That's what I mean. Yeah. So.
Number 4, watch out for coincidences. Coincidences that seem like miracles are a good sign you're in the right track, so keep it up. There's all these different things that happen in our life, right? That is sometimes it's like a subtle thing. It's like a whisper. And then you go, I didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's interesting.
How's that?
Yeah.
And it also depends on what it is, right? Because it could be something like you have a conversation with a colleague or a supervisor or someone of that kind, and they say something.
Yeah.
And then you say, maybe it's time for me to go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because you could start like seeing things. It could be like that. Or it could be something, again, that goes back to just being positive. Oh, I'm just only looking for the positives. But sometimes there are things that are said to you or things that happen to you, right? Just like that you look for coincidences. Man, I'm not really truly happy because I'm listening to my emotions here. I don't know what's going on, right? And then you start listening to something and you're like, it's time for me to go. Mm-hmm. You got to think about that too.
That's a good point.
Okay.
And finally, reframe a lack of mindset. So when we desire something we don't have yet, it's easy to get caught up in the lack of cycle. Mm-hmm. Focusing on the lack of money, lack of love, lack of happiness only reinforces the lack. As Shannon Kaiser says, let go of how you think things should go and trust the universe to work its magic, remaining open to whatever the universe thinks is best. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Comment below with your thoughts and additional ideas, and remember to stay connected by sharing and subscribing.